Good morning, good evening, and good night, wherever you are. And welcome to Requiem for London Chronicles, the City of Martyrs. And we begin our scene with a certain individual exposed to the night air, the Thames River, water rushing by, that foul, wonderful stench of London emitting from its dark water. The sky itself is quite cloudy, but that bright moonlight still shines through, still causing bane to his very existence, pushing out of London itself. As this individual looks around, he finds himself in the Docklands, the old abandoned warehouses, the now empty and rusty shipyards that only echo their former glory. Amongst this scene is old, decrepit slum buildings. But this is where the scent is strongest. This is where his task ahead is closest. We'll zoom in on this figure.
And yes, it is here that Jonathan has arrived after using the scent that Richard gave him to track down the closest equivalent to a convict a vampiric society can get. Having both of his familiars with him, but only one active. His dog, his hound, aiding him in his hunt, as it were. And throughout the past hour or so, as he kind of follows this trail and ends up coming back to where he came, and then kind of finds his familiar, kind of just almost as if it were following its own tail. Jonathan himself just using his protein to kind of enhance his scent, sprouting something of a dog nose as he kind of pulls his hoodie to avoid any attention. Anyone passes by, he just holds his hand over his nose as if he's about to cough. It's very cold, everyone's throats are very dry. And eventually he comes upon the realization that surely she must be here. The trail keeps coming back to here, it keeps circling back here. He's never really gone for anything like this before. Usually a trail is quite linear to him. He's never really experienced it kind of folding back on itself. Fortunately, he has the aid of several separate opinions in the form of animal companions, which do verify for him that yes, this does lead here, and eventually he does come across this old chapel, stretching out his senses using his feral senses, his dog-like nose and his rat-like ears covered by his hood to sense that which is around him, to see if he can pinpoint this person whose scent has led him here.
As you use your senses, and as you've described, the trail, it seems to keep leading out of the Docklands. but then disappears suddenly. The small blood trail, and the individual seems hurt or wounded, at least. And as they leave this trail, but then suddenly they disappear and then re-emerge elsewhere. Disappear, re-emerge. The trail keeps going off in these random directions and then cut off. It's so confusing again for you and your animal companions who have used en masse to find the trail, and of course they themselves get confused and come back with no answers or questions. But the trail seems to end here, and this is where the freshest scent is, and it's this chapel, very old, very sort of small chapel, an old kind of Baptist house. The building itself is somewhat condemned, or the roof is slightly collapsed in. The windows seem boarded up or broken, and it seems to be being used as a refuge, as a place to gather the homeless, the vulnerable, the ill. And you even see some individuals queuing up to go inside to eat or to feed or to sleep for the night. And as you look around, there's a single chapel, but it is surrounded by these very old sort of warehouses, and some of the warehouses have been converted into what would be more nefarious means, places of ill intent, ill luxury, ill taste. But it seems in this area of somewhat depraved sin, this one place seems to be open and is accepting of all. And as you kind of stretch out of your senses, as you zoom in from the rooftops or from a remote location, a spot zooming down on this scene, you sense the individuals inside. You can hear their heartbeats. You hear the animals whispering to you who and what is there. And you can definitely gauge that at least the individual you seek is residing there, is there. But there seems to be 3 to 4 other people there. Vivid descriptions are given to you, senses vivid. 2 old men, 1 young man, 1 woman, or was it 2 women and 2 old men? It varies. You're not sure without seeing inside for yourself. But as you stretch out your senses and as you listen to the whispers of the creatures that you control, as they kind of crawl up your arms and your legs to whisper in your ear, your beast translates and whispers back. One of them speaks of a strange individual, someone they don't sense, but they can see him. Someone who's not there, but is there. The translation doesn't quite come across well.
Returns to a more human. Well, he gets rid of his animalistic features and seems quite intrigued by the fact that there is something that his beast cannot sense properly. And yeah, we'll go to investigate this little anomaly.
Okay, a small rat or a young, probably a 3rd generation of Mr. Squeaky sort of guides you. Again, for them, time speeds so fast. You're considered a grandfather, an ancient figure, a godlike figure. Many months or days have gone by since Squeaky, the old legend, their great sort of ancestor, and he leads you. This one little mouse, it sort of leads you and shows you to an individual who seems to be stalking around near the chapel and near the more nefarious little areas. You see like a Neo sign that's kind of glowing in the background. All are welcome, coming in for a good time. Sort of old bars, people passed out on the street. But this one individual seems to be walking down it, and he's got his hood up. He seems to be observing, not interacting. But what is incredibly strange to you especially, you can't sense him. You can't hear him. You can't hear his heart. You can't feel the blood, you cannot. He's like oblivious to you. If you weren't looking at him right now, you'd never think he was there. Upon a closer look, this individual does turn to glance around his surroundings. And it's as if he senses something, as if he feels something. But he carries on. But you see this individual with a hood. He has a few tattoos and markings all over him, symbols unrecognizable at the distance that you're in. But he seems to just carry on forward, carry on down this sort of street, observing, looking.
Jonathan kind of tilts his head and squints his eyes a little bit at this person, a little bit confused and also slightly amused, considering the fact he seems to be kind of stalking around very, in a way that he almost relates to himself, and that he realizes how suspicious this looks, and he realizes, oh, this is how I normally look, and we'll just kind of initially catch on up to him, like not really following. He's not really hiding himself, and there are people passed out on the street because bars and shit. He just kind of walks over one guy. He's just kind of just getting up from his drunken stupor and just hops along to this guy.
Yeah, I think we can make a roll. Let's just see how a roll goes here. So I think I've put up in the chat. I put the lobby. And if you could just get this is just purely for how good you come across. So I think a sort of composure and stealth. I think. No penalties. Let's just see how the dice goes.
Okay. One sec. I just need to get into my lobby. Yes, sign in on that account that I have. Yes, thank you.
Oh, okay, so yeah, I posted it in the chat. I don't know if you have to log in.
I'm not seeing it in the chat. Sorry.
Oh, it should be in the group chat. I thought I posted it. I will repost. Hold on 1 second. Okay, just posted it up in the chat. In the Google Hangout chat, not the.
Yeah, I think I'm in. Good.
Oh, I think yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
So stealth and composure. What is my character any good at this?
So this just describes whether you go from the rooftops, whether you go through the crowd. Do you succeed in socializing? Do you succeed in blending in?
Oh, I'll roll another d10. He gets. Well, he succeeds.
Okay.
He kind of just moves through the crowd. He's back in his human form. There are people around, and his activity here is supposed to be fairly clandestine, so he's not gonna be trapezing around too much. That would be fairly reckless for him, at least with this amount of people around, and the fact that he's kind of going off his main objective at this point, to follow this kind of this unexpected twist to his mission.
Yeah, you proceed. And as you go forward, you follow this individual again, either through the rooftops or perhaps through the crowd. You blend in quite well. You keep your hood up. You come across just like any other lowlife there. Someone looking for a thrill, looking for a good time. And the rain starts hitting you heavy. The rain starts coming down now and starts to hit you heavy. And that kind of blurs you into the group a bit more. People are rushing around trying to stay out of the rain, trying to keep under in the clubs or under the sort of protection of the outdoor sort of establishments. And you proceed to follow this individual. And as you do, you're more aware of what he's doing, and he's doing exactly what you're doing. You're trying to keep out of sight, trying to spot the crowd, and it's bizarre. It's because he is so you can't sense him, but see him. He comes across out of place, but it takes a lot of focus for you to really see him. You have to keep eye contact because as soon as you leave your eye contact, you'll lose him. Normally, you can always sense their heartbeats. You can smell their blood. You can smell their sweat. And you can track someone very easily. But this person, it's just slightly more difficult.
He's forcing him to think like a human in some ways. He can't rely on his vampiric senses.
In some ways, it's like it kind of actually, in some ways, it reminds you of being human. This person it feels like you're just tracking a normal human again. You can only rely on your visual senses. You can't rely on your smell. You can't rely on your ears. It's just your sight seeing this person. And those old kind of routines click in, and it might be quite exciting for you just to have this sort of sensation back. A bit of a thrill, a mortal thrill. So you follow him. And as you proceed, you go towards, now this is where it's less crowded. You go towards more of a darkened alley. And it seems to lead a few steps down and then another few steps down. It seems to lead to an underground level, an underground, sort of an abandoned kind of warehouse or dockland kind of area, an old sort of shipping yard area. And as he proceeds further forward, he looks back to make sure he's not being followed. But again, you climb, you jump, you use your tail perhaps just to sort of make yourself suddenly less obvious. He looks on the ground level to see if anyone's there, but of course you're dangling from a sort of alleyway ladder, just looking over him. And as then you drop and then proceed forward, you see he's starting to meet other individuals, and then you realize, wait a minute, oh, I didn't even sense them. I didn't even realize they were here. I can't sense any of them. At least 5, perhaps 8 people you can see. And they seem to gather around one figure who seems to be speaking to them. And you can only see this figure. They all seem to be wearing these hoods, and they're very similar, identified. They all seem to have no hair, markings on their flesh and skin, sort of crucifixes and moon symbols that seem to adorn them. And this one figure who appears somewhat normal amongst all of them seems to be shouting at them, barking orders, seems to be issuing them to head out again. And they all kind of separate and go their separate way. And he hangs around a sort of makeshift bonfire that's just overlooking the River Thames in this sort of old abandoned sort of shipyard. And this is the scene that is presented before you.
Jonathan will, as the group's kind of told to scatter, and the guy just kind of he remains there, sits before a rather large and not entirely pleasant-looking bonfire. Will just hop down and begin approaching fairly casually, but obviously the fire is discomforting, so he doesn't get too close to the fire. He tries to make himself fairly open. He doesn't want to be seen as if he's sneaking up on this person. He'll probably still be approaching him from the side or behind, but he doesn't make any attempt to mask his footsteps.
As you approach, and you just see this sort of lone figure, and he's just smoking a cigarette in front of this. Yes, it is somewhat large bonfire. He's not super close to it, but he's somewhat close to it. And again, he seems to be looking over the Thames, and you see the scene before you where the moon is shining down, and the skyline of London itself, and the bright emblem of the Shard is just in the background. But where you are at the moment is where the muck, the dirt, the old, decrepit and rusted London seems to be. The broken warehouses, the sort of slightly sunken ships, unfinished ships that seem to have rusted and stayed in the Thames. And as you approach, you hear him whistling. You hear him sort of singing a tune. Going, da, 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 da. Hey, you coming out of those shadows? Are you staying in them?
It's not a place to go camping.
It's just as warm as any other place, and you get a hell of a view. This is London, my friend. This is the truth of London.
It's very rusty and wet.
And that is London, my friend. Ah, you took the words out of my mouth. Rusty and wet. Huh, no other city like it. Come sit. Enjoy the fire, or if that's not your preference, let me at least see you. He kind of gestures for you to go to the other side of the fire. A safe distance, as it were.
Yeah. He'll just walk around. Again, he'll kind of pull down his hoodie. Actually, no, it's raining. He doesn't want to get wet. So
Yeah,
he keeps the hoodie up, but he's not really attempting to hide himself anymore. He's not really like trying to keep low profile like this.
Yeah,
Over.
the bonfire is built. You hear the pitter patter of like water hitting it, but it's kind of, this is like a makeshift camp, and there's a kind of a makeshift roof that is above the bonfire, and the flame kind of goes through it. It's a sort of makeshift sort of netting with some wood and other things above it. So it's become like a little smokehouse thing. And but as you walk to the other side of the fire, you see this individual before you, and he looks up. Now, you're quite good. My boys, they sensed you way before you sensed them. But most of your kind, the really good ones, they stay in the shadow. They stay very well hidden. So that tells me that you're either quite new at this, or perhaps you're a lot older than you seem.
I guess by my kind standards, I'd be very young. I'm not the whole centuries old collector of favorite shit. I mean, to be honest, I don't really have a word for them. They're really old and fairly unsettling.
No, don't. I know exactly what you mean. Believe me, I know what you mean. And that that works in your favor, my friend. Look, let me introduce myself. I'm what they call the Martyr of Truth. He speaks that in a very epic way, as if he sort of announces it to the environment.
The Mile of Truth?
Martyr of Truth.
Martyr of Truth.
And he said, as you look close to him, he's holding a cigarette and he's holding a beer. And he looks really roughed up. He's got bandages like on his face. He's got plasters. He's got cuts and bruises. His face actually looks really bruised, as if someone's punched his skull in. and he looks like his leg is in kind of a brace or a cast as well. And he does look quite injured, actually. It looks like someone's really roughed him up quite a bit. But he seems to have a good mood on him. And he even gets the sort of sunglasses he's got out. And he sort of puts them on and kind of puffs in a bit louder and drinks a bit more. And goes, ah, and then speaks out, Martyr of Truth, in a loud, booming voice. Well, that's what they call me. Truth be told, I was involved in your world long ago. A ghoul, I think that's what you call it.
Yeah.
So don't worry about the formalities. I know your kind, I know your type, I know your secrets. But tell me, who are you? What are you? Forget about that blood.
Well, I guess I should start with a name. That makes more sense. I'm Jonathan. You can just call me John or Johnny or whatever you prefer. It doesn't really matter to me too much. Strip away the blood and I guess I'm just a guy. I mean, or rather I'd be dead, but yeah.
Oh, come on, Johnny. I think you're Johnny. I'm gonna call you a Johnny. You're more than a guy. You gotta have dreams. You gotta have love. You gotta have wants.
That's true. I do have something in mind. I mean, for this city, I'm hoping it's a good thing. It's probably the least worst. Kind of tricky to do to not be horrible and when you're kind of in my state of being. I mean, accidents become manslaughters and then it all just kind of spirals out of control, and then by the time you know it, you've just kind of stopped remembering you didn't mean to do this. Kind of a mess.
That's what it comes down to, Johnny. That's what it comes down to, Johnny. Like you said, you come here, best intentions, but it always ends up in body bags, doesn't it, Johnny?
Road to hell, right?
Yeah, I could judge you harshly, but that's not my bag. I think you're a good guy. I feel that from you. Like I said, I'm the martyr of truth. Everything I say is true. Every word, every syllable, every vowel. Now, you seem like a good guy. But like you said, it always ends up in body bags, doesn't it? Even with your best intentions. Dead. Ghoul. Blood. Victim. Frenzy. You see, I don't hate you, Johnny. I hate that curse that surrounds you, envelops you. I hate that little beast that's nagging at your mind right now, isn't it? Oh, it's telling you to be afraid of me, isn't it? Don't lie. I know when you lie.
In my experience, the beast trends towards extremes. It's not to make myself sound like a victim, but it's even worse. My clan have a harder time dealing with it than others.
Just on the side note, your beast is freaking out right now. Your beast is just like kill him.
Listen to him. Yeah, he does kind of rub his head a little bit as if to accentuate the point that, yeah, no, he's very much correct. As in, he's trying to kind of hide the fact that this aspect of him is extremely panicked and stressed, and his human side is really just trying to, no, calm the fuck down. He hasn't tried to kill us yet. I know there's a bonfire right next to us. It's fine. Just having a conversation for once. Just shut up for 1 second. Let me have a conversation for once.
Yeah, this is all kind of gauged by him, and you can tell he's being very calm, very patient. He doesn't make any threatening moves, doesn't do anything else.
Yeah, Jonathan's trying to be very much the same, be very open, be very non-threatening, kind of like have stuff like he's sitting up like fairly straight but isn't looming over, kind of like straight relax. And has his like palms, like when he gestures, he has his palms open. It's very non-threatening. It's not like he's pointing over his palm covered, which implies threat. He has very much when he gestures, very much palms fairly open, fairly lax, fairly open gestures. So.
Well, he he accepts that, and he sees you on it. He can feel you on it, and he actually gets like a walking stick or a crutch to pull himself up with. And with this sort of cast leg and these injuries they suffer, he kind of starts to, again with these black sunglasses on his face and a cigarette, he goes, look, let's go for a waddle, a walk. Yeah. I apologize for my leg. I just suffered some recent injuries. A chandelier fell on me, if you don't believe it. Now that hurt.
I can imagine. I'm sure you've got some stories.
Oh boy, I got some stories, as I'm sure you do as well. Being like you, that's a story in of itself, let alone you, Johnny. I'm sure you got some interesting stories. And he gestures just to walk. He kind of does a bow and sort of gestures for you to walk along the sort of rotten Thames. This is, again, it's full of garbage and mess and sort of old rusty equipment, blah blah blah. But he seems to just walk along it, and for him, this is brilliant. He's loving it. He thinks it's a great time. He goes sort of gestures for this little walk, a very slow walk because he is injured, but away from the bonfire, which is a key thing for your beast. Is kind of starting to calm down a bit now, and he kind of just sort of looks to you and goes, "Well, Johnny, look, you seem to be a man seeking something, seeking a truth, perhaps, and I am a martyr of truth. Why have you come down here? Not many of your kind would speak to me."
I guess I was kind of fortunate. The first time I ran into you guys, I'm very good at tracking blood. Sometimes it gets the better of me, and I'm going to be honest, my concentration lapsed, and I did some, like, not evil shit, but stuff that, like, would probably constitute as very creepy. But I wasn't really focused on the two guys that kind of walked up to me, or us, when all that happened, and it kind of ended up resolving itself without me. But I guess just kind of ended up wondering, this isn't the first time I've been to London, and considering the little life history of myself I've uncovered and what happened to the city, I don't know, I just figured I'd want to get the other side of the story. I mean, hunters are made, right? People don't just pick up arms for no reason. They have a cause.
Well, look now, in regards to that incident, and I think I know the one you're talking about, the incident. Those two boys, now, I'm not going to say there wasn't upset tears about that. And he sort of gestures for you to walk, like to carry on this direction along the beach. I'm not going to say there weren't any upset tears about that. They were two young, fine men. heroes, martyrs of the cause. But I understand. You are a beast. You're all beasts. That's your nature. I don't blame the scorpion for stinging and poisoning the one that carries it. Why should I? That's a fool's errand. My job, my goal is to try to help you recognize that. Help you make you understand. You're not the problem, Johnny. It's that curse. That thing that was placed upon you, that's defiled you, that has corrupted you. Now, I'm taking a wild guess here that this life you didn't choose, it was forced upon you.
Oh no, I only just recently learned that I was a very particular experiment that I woke up with body bags.
This is how it works, you see. Whatever reason, whatever excuse, it spreads the curse. It goes from person to person to person. For whatever reason, for whatever exception, it spreads. You'll probably do it one day. You can't help it, just the way you are. Now, you see, I'm a more reasonable minded martyr. I'm the martyr of truth. I accept what you are, I accept what you're capable of. The other two martyrs, well, they are not as inclined as I am. They wouldn't be speaking to you right now. Let's say that much.
Hmm. To be completely honest, if I felt like I really didn't have an exit strategy, I probably wouldn't be here just because, I mean, we don't exactly have reputations for having discussions, particularly of the whole rhetoric thing and us being undead. Like, it's like a match made in hell, really.
Oh, I understand. I understand. Let me tell you just a tiny bit about myself. Element of trust. You've told me a bit about you and your condition. I feel obliged to tell you something of mine. You may not have heard of me. I used to be the prince's jester, the prince's ghoul of old London. Oh, yeah. I used to make him laugh. I made his court laugh. I made them all laugh. Until one day I told them the truth of what they were. Now, please guess what my reward for that was.
I mean, these guys can get pretty imaginative.
Oh, yes, they do. Indeed, they can be very imaginative. I'll skip you the details, but it was not pleasant. But here I am, risen anew, reborn anew, made flesh anew. Oh, hail the great angel, the moon angel herself, gave me new life, gave me a chance to redeem, to help those cursed, those that are afflicted by pain. Now, I stretch my arm out to you, brother. I can help you, but only if you're willing to help yourself.
That's the goal. I mean, I'm trying to find a way to get other. I mean, if you used to be a ghoul, I mean, you know how that works. I mean, fuck, right now I'm pretty sure someone is using someone who they've put on a leash to hold me on a leash.
Now, I don't want to probe you. I don't want to force the issue, but I'm just going to assume here. I'm going to assume you've been sent here, or others have been sent here on the whim of some ancient, older, elder, kindred vampire with God knows what kind of plans or ideas in his head. And you'll feel that you're being powerful. You'll feel like you're achieving your goals, but there's always someone telling you what to do, how to act. Now, that's slavery. Give it any other word, it's slavery. I'm trying to offer you freedom. I'm trying to offer you salvation. That's all. I don't force it. I only accept those that are willing to give in to it. That is my truth.
I guess that kind of depends on what salvation is, really. I've never been a particularly religious guy.
I ain't gonna lie to you. I don't know how to save you. You're too far gone to be saved. For now. And I made a vow to remove your taint from this plane, from this earth. But I can promise you this, brother. You'll be the last kindred I kill. And as a speaker of truth, that is a vow no other can go higher or beyond. Just by as you're thinking, you seem to carry on along the beach towards a sort of an area, and there seems to be more people, like in front of you. There's a sort of homeless shelter, an area of refugees or individuals are sort of scavenging or hovering. And it seems to lead towards more of an underground sewer entrance that leads into London, or an underground sort of tunnel system that leads into London. And you seem to be heading towards this place.
I don't like it when people, I mean, you're honest, which it's more than most people grant me, but I don't really like responding with "I don't know" because it's such an indecisive cop-out answer. And I don't know, I read something recently which gave me pause to try and make something of this. I'm actually kind of lucky. You're right about most of the kindred that came here. Most of them are just bound slaves. It's kind of hard to reach out to them most of the time, particularly when you have to bring into question the fact that, you're bound to someone, and yeah, they'll promise to release it once all is said and done. But can you really trust the word of someone that old who's that good at the game? I only recently came across something that might suggest that I might be able to retain a piece of myself in the face of it all. Because freedom isn't humanity, really. I initially considered my whole independent shtick as enough. I came to London because I was kind of tired of, the absolute mess that was every other kindred court, and I was kind of turned away from every other court because I was embraced for a war, and war's end, soldiers aren't in work anymore, they aren't in demand, so I just kind of came here, just kind of wanted to claim my little corner and just say, can you just kind of leave me alone? I don't want to cause anyone any trouble. Just some kind of peace.
And you know what? I would wish that for you, my friend. I only wish that upon you. But you're smarter than that. You know you're not here for that. You was sent here. You was made to be here. You was. There's something different about you. I can't put my finger on it, but there's an old shadow hovering over you, my friend.
Oh yeah, someone's definitely trying to pull my strings. I'm pretty sure I know who it is. It's just a case of cutting them.
Hmm. And with that, I wish you the best of luck. I follow willingly to my cause. What about what you were willing to follow? What are you willing to believe in, brother? What are you willing to sacrifice for, brother?
For the longest time, I never really gave that any thought. As I said, I kind of just came here with very self-interested ends, just wanted to claim my corner, say, leave me alone. Some guys will owe me some favors after a couple of good things I do, and then I can just rest it out till I figure what I want to do, and then if I want to die, I'll die. But well, I mean, it's related to those two guys. Feels kind of bad saying like just kind of dismissing them as like two guys, but I mean, I never even knew their names. I was exploring some place, found, I guess, what would be the equivalent of ruins of our kind. There's a very interesting tidbit left.
Look. Oh, he kind of just gestures and he points to where you're heading. He seems to be leading you. And you go to this sort of slight undercove, this sort of underground, like it's like a waterway or sewage entrance. And as you get closer, you see people, and there seems to be people scattered around again, trying to live in squalor, trying to survive. But they seem to have made this shrine, and you see all these sort of pictures and artwork and imagery that's surrounding this sort of system, and candles that are lit, and all these images, all these photos, all these people that are literally they fill the whole kind of sort of sewer sort of walkway or passage that leads into the sort of inner sewer system. And he gestures and he goes, "Look, brother, those two strangers, as you call them, they're just one of many. You think you're the first kindred that came here in these past 10 years? Is that what your, what they call council have told you?"
I mean, I don't really pay much attention to what they say.
Many have died at your kind's hands. It's up to you whether you make their sacrifices worthless or meaningful. That choice is yours, brother, not mine. I'm only here to convey the truth of what's happening, the rust and wet of London.
I just wanted a better society for my kind. We almost had it once.
That is the problem. That is the key issue. Your kind, the people, you, Johnny, you're fine. It's the curse. It's that beast inside you. That's what makes it difficult. That's what makes it terrible. And I feel that you can be redeemed, but can you say the same for others that you know?
I want them to be. It's hard for me to judge. Most of them are bound. I mean, how many of their actions can even be counted as their own when you reach that point? Your mind's just a puppet.
That's the issue, my brother. Are they even human anymore? Are they so consumed by the beast they are not worthy, not even redeemable? If a dog goes savage and strange, do you not put it down? Or do you let it keep rampant, keep feeding on young, innocent flesh?
And that's the horrid irony, right? The bond drains your soul just by acting against it. Yet, if you want to retain any piece of who you are, you have to.
Look, my brother, come here. You're free to do so. Make this your place. Let this be a place for you to gain some sense of humanity, some sense of being. But when that beast whispers, you think of this place. You think of these candles and these portraits and these. And he points to two pictures that are on the wall. And they are the two images of the individuals that you met down the tunnels. And you see them, and they're merely a blur image of amongst thousands and hundreds that are scattered along this sort of column, these walls. And the people actually look at you, and some of the kids actually kind of are afraid of you. No, they're not that they sense who you are, but just with the mark of the individual you're with and the way you look, it just, they can tell. And there is a sense of fear coming from them as they look to you. But he's there to protect you and sort of guide you. But as he points to these two figures, and simply says, all I ask for, show me where the monsters lay. Show me the monsters deserving. Those that can't be redeemed. That's all I ask, brother.
And I'll try. I don't. No, I mean, fuck. What did you say, right? Do or do not? There is no try. Might as well commit to something in my life. You'll look at the two guys, the pictures of the two men that Emily and the sheriff killed. Do they have names? Like when he looks at them,
as you lean in closer, and as you kind of look to them, they don't seem to have names on the photos, but as you look closer, suddenly a hand, like as if you're about to reach for the photo, a hand grasps you, a hand stops you, and it simply goes, don't take that photo. His name was Alan.
Alan. Who was his friend? Kind of looks to the second person.
She looks really angry at you, but then realizes you don't understand, and it's like, that was his brother. And she sort of really looks to you closely, and just simply just goes, "I'm not telling you his name." Again, she has similar markings to the other individuals you've met. Bit more punkish, bit more roguish, the way she looks. And not as many religious symbols, but more cult kind of symbols that seem to be tattooed all over her. But they seem somewhat newish, fresh sort of tattoos, fresh symbols, and fresh bruises and markings upon her skin.
He, upon hearing that it was his brother, he actually, there is like a kind of, it's, he tries to mask like the element of shock to it, like, but his eyes flicker like a little bit because he didn't really. Family adds a personal element to things, and it does catch him off guard, like when you add the identity to the two bloodthirsty mooks. Um, he it gives him a moment of pause that there is a person behind the soldier, and he looks a little bit humbled, really, and not in a sort of like regal way, not in a formal way, but in a slight like necessarily guilt, unease, but like he feels like he doesn't really know what to say, and there's that sort of like slightly sad but awkward look on his face. He doesn't really feel like he has the right to say anything. Like he was there, like he was on the other side. There is nothing he can say can make things better. It's not going to change anything. Like saying something here is really just completely hollow. It would just be like a lie, really.
As you go silent, as you close your eyes, and as you kind of really sort of not bow your head, but just look in a way of there's nothing you can say, nothing you can do. And at this point, she just looks to you. And then she just reacts going, look at me. Look at me. And if you don't, she just slaps you or hits you.
He will. His eyes like emerge from their corner, and he will make direct eye contact with her.
Let's just say you refrain for a few moments, and then she sort of hits you or slaps you. And as she does, your eyes open, and then she looks really deep in your eyes, going, "You killed him. You killed them both, and I will never forgive you for this. I will never forgive your kind, and I will wipe you out from the face of this world." And as she's saying this, she's just crying. Tears are pouring out of her eyes. And she's about to do something else, but then, of course, the martyr is just behind you. He seems to give a nod or a word or something, and she just holds her fist and is about to do something else with it, but then proceeds to kind of walk away. And then she kind of walks into the corner and just starts to cry, basically. At this point, the martyr kind of goes to you and just sort of, forgive her, brother. Her wounds are very raw, very fresh, and she's still quite young. She's not used to the sacrifices we have to make. Perhaps one of your kind will realize after how many mortals are dead before he sees his sins.
I don't blame people for defending themselves.
As I've said, my newest friend, I'm the more liberal of the martyrs. I'm the more... I can see the truth of your condition, and I only wish the best of it. But your cursed form, it only leads one way. It always leads one way: pain and death. But it's up to you to make it worth something, to make it noble. I only hope that you see it this way. And with that, he just gives you a phone and a card and sort of detail numbers. It's kind of like a burn phone or whatever. And he just simply says, send me some details, send me some contacts. Tell me the true monsters in London. Let my kind do what they do best. Save more lives. Stop the blood of innocents being spread so painfully thinly on London.
I'll do that.
Unlike your supposed superiors, your elders, your wise nobles, I give you a choice, brother. Something they would never give you.
If I could drink a bit of that, I would.
I'll leave you be now. Soak in your surroundings. You're welcome here anytime. I will give you sanctuary here by the word of the martyr and by the word of the angel of the moon, Sandra herself. I cannot give assurances to any other of the cursed blood that comes here or their foul, infected offspring. As long as you come here to pray or to give thanks or good service, none will harm you as you dwell here. But this is only a temporary alliance. We will see the truth and the faith of your actions in your deeds. I will leave you be, brother. Blessed are you as you are cursed.
Thank you.
With that, he kind of just sort of nods and he puts the sort of sunglasses back on his sort of face and lights another cigarette. And he gets the sort of walking stick or crutches to kind of waddle kind of back out. And as he does so, you merely see this group of like 8 or 9 individuals. Again, you never sense were there. They just seem to appear just sort of above you. And again, the moonlight glaring down behind them upon you. And they all seem to be looking at you. And you know for a fact you could be killed right now. These individuals could easily just simply slaughter you, cut you open.
He's in their territory.
They're in their territory. They're literally, these guys seem like the 2 hunters that you fought in the tunnels, but better. These seem like the experienced ones. These seem like the veteran ones.
They've been around.
They are very grand, but they are held back. Mark seems to be joking with them, seems to be just playing with them, gesturing them to go and move out, and they obey and they seem to follow. And with that, he gives you kind of a wink or a nod as the moonlight's blowing behind him. And as this happens, he just sort of waddles away, walks away, and he leaves you with your thoughts and your feelings upon this scene of martyrs and death and candles lit amongst many, many photos. As you get the ideal hint that perhaps there are other vampires or kindred have come into London before you.
As he leaves and he nods, he kind of gives like a slightly lopsided, light-hearted smile like him, and just kind of gives him the pseudo salute and thanks for effectively saving his life. But as he's left alone, he'll just kind of walk down this cove and look at all the flowers, all the candles, all the pictures. So many pictures. to an extent, it's actually fairly hard for him to process the sheer amount of just all this damage effectively that has been wrought on so many lives. And maybe some of these people were dumb or fanatics or did something, effectively called it upon themselves by just running into a fight and just flagrantly trying to kill someone without realizing, without trying to understand. But at the end of the day, none of that really matters, because that's not the point. And yeah, he doesn't really pay too much attention to the religious iconography. Not because he dismisses it, but because he simply doesn't really. He kind of says to himself that he really doesn't understand that. He doesn't know this. This isn't his faith. It's, he's not a faithful man. He even considers whether it would be insulting for him to try and pretend to play any form of respect. What's more important is the memory of everyone on here, and perhaps to resolve oneself to maybe mitigate some of the damage, maybe make all of this, as the Martyr of Truth said, worth something. And that quote, that one simple statement in that one Carthian carving, that we may be born of monsters, but we may choose not to be so, kind of strikes him here. That maybe a movement where that is the defining quote, not the free traditions which are based on survival and pragmatism, not the Invictus, which are wholly based around such survival and power mongering, nor the crones or the dragons, who largely have sought knowledge over their own souls. Maybe something can be gained if you can just bring one more kindred to be just a little bit better of a person, just slightly, maybe get them to be more than what they are, and maybe create some sort of existence, some sort of coexistence where this won't be. There won't be another war like this. Not 10 more years of wars. And after kind of paying homage to these people, really just accepting that this happened, he will leave, not really making a fuss of himself, not making a grand display. That wouldn't be fair. It wouldn't be right, really. Trying to make some sort of diplomatic overture, it's not him, and it wouldn't be fit. So he'll just leave quietly.
And as you leave, no one gives you any notice, no one gives you any issue or problem. You get a few odd stares, a few other individuals. Some people just treat you, they don't know who you are, what you are. Other people seem to know, but they know better than to try to proceed with it. But you're left to walk in the outside world along the constant sort of Thames noise of water bashing against land and drifting away again. That moonlight beaming through the sort of building, the skyline of London, and those lights that seem to echo out into the darkness. But as you proceed with this and the thought of what's just happened tonight, one question I will have to ask you for the sake of our viewers and for yourself. Do you call and use that number?
He will, but he says he kind of brings with it a caveat because he's aware of the ghoul losing their fingers, and says if this person isn't delivered, they will die. Like someone else will die. That there is, and he kind of wants to. He basically brings with it the caveat that the person being taken is not the target. The person they need to bring her to is the target.
They, whether message or way you respond in that, they simply say where. Ghouls will be forgiven. Ghouls will be redeemed.
There is a kindred who is going to try and bring her back. When she brings her back, it will probably be before the one who's orchestrated all of this. But the one who's doing it is just a slave like everyone else. I think they can be redeemed. In fact, I'm kind of trying. I've already put the idea in their heads.
A text sort of goes through. It simply replies, "You'll be the last vampire killed. She'll be the second to last vampire killed."
Fuck.
It's that sort of redeeming thing of we are going to kill you, or
we're just gonna kill you last.
We're gonna
that's pleasant.
So it's this horrible thing of where you're portraying your kind, but you're doing it for good reason. You're doing it for a noble reason, and isn't that what it should be about? But they're giving you the same offer that they gave for you. It's that sort of system. That's the way they do it. Unless they can find a cure, unless they can find.
You'll say, no, he won't. He won't mention the sheriff yet because he doesn't seem much of a sheriff. In all honesty, he doesn't really know how far gone the sheriff is or isn't because he hasn't seen enough of him. Like it would be kind of quick to the trigger for him to mention him.
So just to make it more defined, what details do you give them? What do you actually tell them?
He will inform them of the girl and that this woman who escaped, and he'll literally say this woman from the news. Will say that will inform them of where she is, and this person is supposed to pick her up, but she's being guarded by a bunch of guys. But to reach the elder, they're going to have this ghoul be taken away by this other younger kindred first and taken before the older one.
Yeah, that's fine. That's
fine. He thinks he has a general area of where that person is, but he's not sure.
Yeah, you really have a very close idea. No, we did that.
What he says is that if they want to find a direct location, if all of them want to find out where this elder is hiding, they're basically going to have to time it correctly for this person to take them back.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Now you give those details. They respond, and they don't tell you much, but they just simply say, "Okay, acknowledged, agreed, etc." You give dates, times, etc., and stuff, and we will, I think, happily end scene as this one particular kindred who has discovered much of London, much of the martyrs, and much of themselves. Thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed the show.